up? What up?
What up, ladies and gentlemen? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And whenever you are tuning into this video, my name is James Porcelli,
I'm Brian Thomas.
and welcome to another very special edition of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Apologies once again. Last week, there was no episode, and now once again this week, there is an episode.
Social media is fucking me up these days, man.
So definitely want to shout all of you guys out again, and apologies for no episode last week. However, this week there is an episode, and there's a lots to talk about, both with AEW and with WWE. WrestleMania is now 15 days away. We got AEW Dynasty coming up, and a surprise return that happened this past Wednesday that's got a lot of people talking over the past 48 hours. And we're going to dive straight into that, which involves none other than Chris Jericho back in AEW on AEW Dynamite that was in Winnipeg this past Wednesday. So pretty much it started off the show. Chris Jericho looking like $1 million, by the way, looking good, looking solid. After he's been gone for well over a year now. The last time that we saw Chris Jericho was back in April of 2025. And ever since then, man, there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of discussions and talks about him potentially going to WWE and possibly doing a final run over in WWE potentially, especially the reputation that Chris Jericho has unfortunately developed as far as the past couple of years with just certain characters, gimmicks that just haven't really worked out. And it's gotten to the point to where a lot of fans have just wanted him gone. You've heard it over the years to where, hey, just retire, just go away. Like, this learning tree gimmick is not working. And for over a year, you have not seen this dude. However, this past Wednesday, he made his return. I guess I'll start off with this, man, to where, Chris Jericho, and we kind of spoke a little bit about this a couple months back, to where if Chris Jericho is going to have this final run and wanting to, to not just for the money or not just for certain other circumstances, but to be relevant, to be in that spotlight again. I even stated it to where if he's going to have that, it's going to be in WWE, only because of the fact that in AEW, he's pretty much done everything and anything as far as being a world champion. He's been in factions. He's been in tag teams. Yeah. He's done every single gimmick underneath the sun, which, again, recently was the learning tree. And we all know how people responded as far as to that gimmick. But Chris Jericho, man, I have to give him a lot of kudos because he could have easily went that route to where we don't know, again, much about the details of his contract. From what we're hearing is that the contract was froze with AEW, that his contract was froze for him to come back anytime. Now there's also other rumors and details about him signing to a new deal with AEW, which, again, we'll get to, and maybe we'll hear more about it in the next couple of days or so. But let's all be honest with ourselves, right? Chris Jericho is at that point of his career, whether you like him or not, whether you have digged his gimmicks over the past couple of years. Chris Jericho, with a 30-plus year reputation in this business, obviously he deserves to go out on his own terms, and he feels like, obviously, in AEW in his last run, it just didn't land and it just didn't fit. And he's one of those dudes to where he does wear his heart on his sleeve because of the fact of how many times he can reinvent himself. He's most famous of reinventing himself. And if Chris Jericho, guys, let's just say, if he were to go back to WWE, if that's really where he wanted to, spend his final big run in professional wrestling, right? There is not a single doubt in my mind that it has everything to do with the fact of how WWE has treated a lot of quote unquote retirement tours. John Cena, AJ Styles. Chris Jericho is no idiot, right? Like stupid idiots, right? Is this freaking one of his gimmicks for days? He's no stupid idiot.
You're going on the list.
Still love that gimmick, by the way.
Absolutely.
But there is no doubt in my mind that plays a part in it, to where, like, Chris Jericho, to where if he wants to have this final run in professional wrestling, and he's looking over at WWE to how they've handled John Cena's retirement tour, how they've handled AJ Styles, and whether we like Goldberg or not, to where like the dude got cut off mid-sentence at a Saturday night's main event, tells you every single which way to where if Chris Jericho wants to have this final run, he can end it on his terms to say like, all right, I'm ready to go now because I was able to do it my way, not WWE's way, to how they manufactured so many other people over the past couple of years, or months, I should say, over a year. And it's a big risk because on AEW Dynamite, to where he got not a great reaction, a solid reaction. I can argue and say it was kind of a very underwhelming response from a Winnipeg crowd to where he is from. Because now moving forward, it's just like, what else can you do with Chris Jericho that he hasn't already done in that company to have a final run? But what we've seen from people like Sting having a final run in this company, to where at least AEW would at least do more right by Chris Jericho than WWE would ever do. And I applaud Chris Jericho to where, he could have gotten a better response in WWE, to where, like, the old Y2J, freaking countdown and shtick, to where he could have gotten a better reception. But then, guys, after that, like, do you really expect WWE to give Chris Jericho, right, that benefit of the doubt that they're going to do right by giving him a final solid run? But what we saw with Sting and with many others in AEW, you honestly give AEW more the benefit of the doubt than you do at this point with WWE.
Yeah, 100.
And I think as we got closer and closer into 2026 and now in 2026, once he wasn't in the Rumble, once he didn't appear on Monday Night Raw's anniversary show on Netflix, it was pretty clear that Chris Jericho was going to come back to AEW. You could kind of just paint the picture and you could kind of read in between the lines there. There's also a trademark that AEW has filed, which is the name Cornerstone. So obviously, once that was reported, that doesn't make any sense for it to be in WWE. That would make more sense for it to be in AEW, obviously. So yeah, man, I mean, there might be a lot of reasons why Chris Jericho made this decision. Maybe since from the beginning, this is what Chris Jericho always wanted to do. Maybe it was never about going back to WWE, but I can promise you, whether Chris Jericho wants to tell you or not, whether other journalists or reporters wants to tell you this or not, this has everything to do with how WWE has conducted business, how they've handled their business with a lot of legends like John Cena, like AJ Styles. And we've all seen firsthand, and even people outside of the walls have exposed that and have just criticized of what was just a horrible, quote unquote, retirement tour from John Cena. So, but Brian, I'd love to get your thoughts about it, man, as far as Chris Jericho being back and this decision to be back in AEW. What are your thoughts about it, man?
Yeah, well, first, I mean, pleasantly surprised, if I'm being honest, because I think I've spoken on it here too. I thought for sure he was going to go back to WWE, and for the reasons kind of you just spoke about. I mean, that's where he that's where he became a star, and we all know that and get it, and they're sure going to offer more money. They're going to offer more money than anybody to any star.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I do like this, man. And you mentioned that Cornerstone trademark or whatever, because I'm as you're talking, I'm thinking, because he's been the world champ, he's been in tag teams, his factions, whatever. But that Cornerstone, man, if you really think about AEW would not be here where it is in 2026 without Chris Jericho. In the beginning, I'd say from the beginning, for the first 2 years at least. And you can talk about Cody Rhodes now, but in 2019, Cody Rhodes was not the star, was not the name he is now. It was Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was the guy that was the name that kind of brought credibility to it. He was the champ. He in many ways put that company on his back to establish it. And you mentioned his gimmicks, man. Like this is what I love about Jericho. Honestly, I mean, there's both parts of it. You can take a guy like Undertaker, right, who more or less, other than that the American Badass Biker, was the same character with slight variations, more or less, throughout his whole career, right? Where Jericho, dude, more times than not, whatever he comes up with, it's going to hit. It's going to be entertaining. So kudos to that. I mean, that's not easy to do, especially when you're in an industry, in a business that is built on the name, the gimmick, and if you're changing that every, 3 years, 5 years, well, you got to get yourself over again. And he does it very well. So, all in all, I do like him being back in AEW. I will say, though, it will be interesting to see now what direction they go, because, again,
yeah,
I don't believe Christian. You think of all the talent they got in AEW, just say surrounding the World Championship picture. I don't think Chris Jericho belongs or needs to be in that. And I hope they don't go the route to force that, because Chris Jericho is, again, another guy who doesn't need the title to be entertaining, to get asses in the seats. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do and what, kind of how he finishes out his career. But I'm betting on it being pretty entertaining and more good than not. So, and shout out to Jericho for, again, just for his career. Again, the way the gimmick changes, that's not easy. It's not easy, man.
Yeah.
And he's hands down the best, I think, to ever do that.
At this point for Chris Jericho, man, like, just be Chris Jericho. Like, just be the dude that got you to this point in your career. Just be Chris Jericho. Just have that solid. I'm guessing it's going to be a babyface run, depending, I guess, how the crowd continues to respond to him, depending on where he's placed and where this goes and such. But I do have to give him kudos, man, because yeah, he could have went to WWE to where he could have gotten a much better reception. Let's say in a Royal Rumble or the Raw anniversary show on Netflix. Sure. And yeah, we would have embellished it with all the nostalgia that would have came with it. But Chris Jericho, man, not only do I condone the fact of him taking his reputation to this degree, because again, man, we've seen we saw what happened with Cena. We saw what happened with AJ Styles of going out on their own terms, and it was legit botched by that company.
Yeah.
So why would Chris Jericho want that? As much as he might have, who knows, considered it, maybe he never really considered it. But Chris Jericho, like I said, he's no quote unquote stupid idiot. He's not going to tarnish his reputation to go back to a company that legit time and time again has shown all of us their ineptitude, their negligence, and just their lack of effort. And Chris Jericho, to where, you know what, if I'm going to go out on my own terms, to where I have a 30-plus year career in this industry, I want to go out on my own terms, and I'm going to go to a said company that is going to give me every single avenue to go out the way that I want to go out. Yeah. Outside of a company it's going to be heavily manufactured, and outside of the return, right, outside of the big pop that he could have gotten, right, which would have been big. I completely agree with everybody. Sure. But outside of that, man, we knew how much of a disaster it would have been once that whole little pop and return would have been done, because we've seen it from so many people. We've seen it from wrestler after wrestler after wrestler making a return, right? Whether it's a Roman Reigns or a Seth, whoever it is. And then once that's over, once that's done, right? What does WWE have? They have absolutely nothing, because we saw how AEW did Sting's retirement tour. It was done overall pretty darn solid.
Yep.
And Chris Jericho, to where he's going to take that risk to say, you know what, even though things did not end well in this company, and I could have easily went back to WWE to get that spotlight, to get, that to have that relevance again, but I want to go back to a company that will give me more of that freedom because of how they treated other people like Sting and so many others in a final run of their career. So you have to still tie into everything as far as what WWE has shown us as fans, how they have booked talent, and John Cena's retirement tour is a prime example. Chris Jericho's like, I'm not going to go back to that. I'm going to go back to AEW. I'm just going to be Chris Jericho. And that's who he should be. No silly gimmicks, no freaking, Lionheart character, whatever. You can do that in spurts, possibly, if you want to do that in spurts. But as far as the main focal point of your character, man, just be Chris Jericho, right? Just try to be as authentic as you possibly can be. And we'll see what Tony Khan in AEW has in store. So, of course, we'll know more details about, as far as his contract, whether he has signed a brand new deal on the dotted line with AEW. But yeah, man, even though this is a big risk for Chris Jericho, to where, again, we don't know how the AEW fans, for how they responded to Chris Jericho the last time he was here. There's still a lot of uncertainty once he does get back to the States and how he's booked and how he's portrayed. Yeah, it's a big risk, but I'll tell you what, man, it's going to be probably 10 times better than what WWE was going to prepare him for if that were to be the case, because of what they did with Cena and Styles and so many people, like I said earlier. But Brian, any final thoughts, man?
Yeah, just to tie into what you said, like, to me, the only person's name like you have to mention anymore, like in regards to that, is John Cena.
Yeah,
and they've done this to a lot of different people, but John Cena was different because if you think about when WWE started to become into prominence in the 80s, right? Hulk Hogan, So you go from that point and to where we are now, right? There's been markers and superstars for the generations, right? Hulk Hogan in the 80s, Stone Cold and The Rock in the 90s. And for a generation, it was John Cena in the 2000s. He was the face of professional wrestling as a whole, to many degrees, right?
Yeah.
And so you take a guy like that who is a head and shoulders, Mount Rushmore above, the upper echelon of people who have done this. And then you see how WWE treated that. And that is mind-boggling to me. It is, and then it isn't, because it's greed, it's power, it's petty. And that's Triple H, that's Vince McMahon, that's WWE as a whole, But yeah, you see, so then you take a guy like Jericho, who I'm a bigger fan of Jericho than Cena, but I understand on the grand stage, he didn't reach Cena's heights. So no, like what do you think he's a guy like Jericho is going to get, coming back to WWE when the biggest star they've had in 2+ decades, they failed and fumbled and shit the bed all over the place.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe there was, and who knows? I mean, there's always beef and drama within wrestling, but I don't think like Jericho and Triple H, like they ain't getting drinks anytime soon together. Like I just, so it for me, while I understand like the crowd and the nostalgia and the Y2J and the crowd might have popped, but for Jericho personally, like, yeah, if I'm Jericho, again, seeing all the stuff how they handled Cena, and you can throw in AJ Styles or many others. Yeah, that would not be a pleasant end of my career. I wouldn't imagine.
Absolutely not. No, because again, WWE's reputation speaks for itself. And if you still don't think that plays a part in it, then
Oh
you got
yeah.
another thing coming. Honestly, so am I shocked by the return? Honestly, not. I guess I don't know if it has anything to do with the trademark being leaked out of Cornerstone. That kind of, I guess you can say, kind of maybe gave it away, because why would Chris Jericho trademark, or somebody trademark the name Cornerstone for him to go
Yeah.
back in
It only
WWE?
fits in AEW if he uses it for
Right.
AEW.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Right. So that
Yeah.
kind of, I guess you could say, kind of gave it away. But once he didn't show up to the Royal Rumble, and he was rumored to be on the Monday Night Raw show. Once he wasn't on there, and he was also, once all that was said and done, he was still on AEW's roster page. So at that point, once we got into 2026 and beyond that, like, you kind of had a feeling like, all right, if he's going to come back, it's at this point it's going to be in AEW. Maybe a couple months ago, I was like, all right, I can. If he's going to return to WWE, it's going to be at the Royal Rumble. But once he wasn't at the Royal Rumble, and once we all saw that he's still on the AEW roster page, I'm like, I don't know, man. It seems like he's staying in AEW as further as we got since we've gotten to this point. So,
Right.
so yeah, man. Again, much love to Chris Jericho. It's great to see him back. I mean, obviously, again, the reputation that he does have, he deserves to go out on his own terms. And he's a dude that, again, who is famous for reinventing himself, a dude that has done a lot of great things in this industry. And whether we like Chris Jericho or not, even at his age, he deserves to go out on his own terms. And it's going to be interesting at his age of what he still truly has left. But he looks great. He looks like he's in shape. He's freaking, again, he's out there looking like a rock star with that freaking purple vest and everything. So it's going to be interesting of what Chris Jericho has left and what he's going to bring to the table in a company like AEW that is heavily focused on, a company that is where the best wrestle, so it's going to be very interesting in that regard. But again, even though Chris Jericho, to me, is definitely making a big, I guess you could say, a big risky move. But honestly, man, with the reputation that WWE has, you can argue and say that it's the right move. Chris Jericho wants to go out the way that he wants to go out, and he's not going to let it be in the hands of a doofus known as Triple H, Paul Levesque, Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Facts.
And that's just what it is, man. So,
and just to close it out here, and I know this might be a little bit further down the road for Jericho, but I think he would. There's an element missing within wrestling that maybe it doesn't come back. I don't know. Maybe it was just a time period. But you think about like the Jim Cornettes, the Bobby Heenans, Paul Ellering, even Paulie Dangerously. Those really good managers, right? That played that gimmick well and was a part of the show and whatever superstar they were aligned with. As much as Chris Jericho reinvents himself, man, down the road, don't be surprised if you ever see him in a role like that. And I think he'd crush it.
Yeah, no,
I think that's something missing in wrestling too, where like and I'm sure probably people don't really remember Classy Freddie Blassie, but again, Heenan, Cornette, like, yeah, what happened to all those guys?
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, man, like if Chris Jericho, if he does want to, and I'm sure he knows this, and a lot of people within his ear and within his bubble, as far as who he talks to, whether that is again Tony Khan or the powers that be or whatever, or his little circle that he is, not the inner circle, by the way. If you guys
Right.
know, from the faction that he was in years and years ago.
Faction. Yeah, the inner circle. I really like. Yeah.
But man, just be Chris Jericho. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, I don't mind, doing the Lionheart gimmick and all of these other things as far as gimmicks is concerned in spurts, like the learning tree thing. Like, again, hey, listen, you tried it. It didn't work. Now you go back to the drawing board, man. If this is going to be your final run, man, I'm not saying to where, and I don't know what the right terminology is. I don't want to say be as vulnerable as possible and be like, hey, this is who I am. This is who I want to be in front of all of you. And I want to go out on my terms because, I love this business. I love professional wrestling. And I want to do this because I appreciate all of you, and I want you guys to see the real me, the most authentic me possible, within, again, spurts of previous gimmicks that maybe he has done in the past. And that depends
Sure.
on what he's involved in and who he's in the ring with. But to me, man, like, that's honestly the only route that you can go, is to be as authentic and maybe not as vulnerable, but just to be that sort of, not really character, but just that, you know, authentic version of himself.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so we'll see, man. But so that's the AEW side of things. Again, I didn't watch too much of AEW Dynamite outside of that. There was the contract signing with Kenny Omega and MJF, which I did see clips of it, which seems like it did go pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
I won't stay long on that, but this feud right here, like it's slowly. Well, I was already invested in it, but man, I'm telling you, I really hope people are paying attention to the nuances, the way they Omega and MJF go back and forth. Like this is shaped like, man, it's good. This is what a world championship feud, this is what it's supposed to be, man. Or in this ballpark. And I just don't. You just don't get that at WWE, man, or not
yeah.
anymore. I don't
No,
know.
you can tell that there's effort and there's fun being put
Yeah,
into the show. And not only that, man, but again, AEW has not been perfect. They
no,
have not been great or tremendous and consistent every single week, but they are 10 times more tolerable and watchable than any Monday Night Raw or SmackDown has had to offer over the past several
yeah,
months and years. And that's just a fact, man. Whether you guys like AEW or not, whether you want to admit it or not, man, they have been a lot more consistent as far as the effort that they put in. You can see the effort, you can see how many of those people, because of, I guess you could say, the more creative freedom that they have, and
sure,
how people are just having fun there, man. You can tell, like, it's not, Stone Cold even said it himself, like on a podcast, where, like, when you watch WWE, I mean, we get it, like, it's professional wrestling. We know, like, it's formatted because it's scripted, but like how heavily formatted everything is. But
yeah,
when you watch
right,
AEW, you can tell within there's a lot more freedom to where, yeah, it's still a scripted show because it's professional wrestling, but you
yeah,
can tell that a lot more wrestlers are having fun. There's a lot more freedom, and that, man, just like results in just really good television, or at
yeah,
least much better television, consistent television, if done correctly. So, but yeah, I mean, you got MJF and Kenny Omega. The only question, the only really question, or I guess concern, that I have is the whole thing with Offspray and John Moxley, just because of the fact that they, for weeks, ever since, what was it, World's End, when he won the Continental Classic, was John Moxley. Like,
hmm
he literally, guys, cut this babyface promo in the middle of
yeah,
the ring, and that's when we thought the whole Death Riders thing was about to implode. And I get it. Will Ospreay, he's back to get his revenge on John Moxley and the Death Rider. So yeah, it makes sense. But everything you've done for John Moxley over the past couple of weeks, for him to now just flip a switch just out of nowhere to be that diabolical heel again, is just odd. And it's been very just weird to digest that, to where, like, we
right,
saw, like, the teases of him going full on face to be back in this heel role. So that's still weird to a certain degree. And I hate saying that because I really like Will Ospreay and I really
hmm
like John Moxley. I like both of their work. Again, I'd freaking Moxley and Ospreay. That sounds fun to me. With especially, and with the whole thing with him still holding on to the Continental Classic Championship, because now, from last
yeah.
night on Collision, which was Thursday, yesterday,
Oh, that's right.
that
Yeah,
Continental
yeah.
Classic
Shit, I
Championship
forgot
is
about
going to
that.
be on the line for Dynasty. And it's going to be interesting how they book that, because I've been saying it for weeks and months now. Like, when Will Ospreay gets that ultimate victory, it should be for that world championship. His consolation prize should not be that Continental Classic, title. Because again, with Takeshita and with the Don Callis family, that's been a lot
hmm
of stop and go over the past couple of weeks. So, again, to be fair, that's been the one blunder as far as within the AEW, within the AEW bubble, within, television on a weekly basis.
Yeah, Well, what do you think about this? Because I hear what you're saying, and I kind of in some respects feel the same way, especially with the Moxley stuff, because like you can't deny, like there was at least a point where they were turning him face, and now right, I don't know. But I would say I wonder if a lot of it hinged on really the real life health of Kenny Omega, because it feels like to me the marquee matchup that AEW wants to get to is Omega and Osprey. And you had Omega coming back and Osprey for that matter. I mean, they were both out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That just seemed because the timing of what you were doing with Moxley and then bringing Osprey back to now get them involved, and I don't know. It just feels like to me that it's more of a long-term plan to get to Omega Osprey. And if that is the case, what do you think about that? Like, because that's what it feels like to me, that it's going to come down to Omega and Osprey. Maybe not till next year or something, but it feels like that's what it is to me.
I'll have to put more thought into that, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's going to happen again. You're going to see Osprey and Omega again, I'm sure, in the near future. And by the way, can I just say this too, man? Will Ospreay, listen, dude, like you're amazing, man. Like like honestly, like it's not just about your wrestling, but it's just like everything else you bring to the table. Like this dude, man, I don't know if you saw how he returned. This dude's already doing a corkscrew off the top
Oh
rope.
yeah.
Like I'm like, brother, like what are
the dude he's off the charts, man. And to make it better, when he first got to AEW, that first promo he cut, because I knew all the stuff he could do in the ring, and I'm just like, oh, another New Japan guy, high flippy divey, and you can do all this stuff. He's great on the mic.
He's awesome,
and he's getting better.
That's the thing, man. And it's just like, and the fact that, and I say this about every single wrestler, to where like I'm watching this dude return after coming from a massive injury with his neck, right? And he's already doing like corkscrew dives off the top rope. And I'm just like, I'll just keep it at this, right? I wish there's going to be a time or day to where Will Ospreay realizes that he doesn't have to do that every single night. He doesn't.
He will,
I'm not,
but it'll come, and it comes for all of them. But it's not going to come to his mid-30s. When you're like, oh shit.
And by his 30s, like how battered and bruised is he going to be by his mid-30s? That's what I'm saying, man. To where like once he does realize the fact that, oh wait a minute, I don't have to do all of this stuff. Like, is it going to come to the fact to where like you're in your mid-30s and you're not able to do all the extraordinary things that you used to do before all the massive injuries that you developed? Like that's what I'm saying, man. There's a reason why like so many people in this industry like Sting, right? Like Edge, and so many people were able to like Chris Jericho, that were able to last so long in this business because they knew they didn't have to do X, Y, and Z every single night. You do so much
just on the mic.
Like,
you're
dude,
selling the match. You're selling.
Exactly, man. That climactic moment, whether that's an AEW All-In show, Dynasty, whatever it is, man. Yeah, that's where you do your extraordinary stuff, and that's where you put on your quote-unquote banger matches. But like every single night, man, you see like these wrestlers, they're getting dropped on their head, they're doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm just like, why? Like, listen, I love it. Like, listen, for there's a respect at the two things can be true. There's a respect towards that type of effort that you're giving, to the audience. But at the same time, man, there's also ways to just slow things down a little bit. And I feel like, maybe again, to where you look at Will Ospreay, it's like you see what you see is what you get. Will Ospreay is just that dude. He's not going to, I guess, slow down anytime soon. But I just wish that he'll realize that up until it's too late, to where he can't do all the things at 35 years old that he could have done, or what he was doing at 28, 29 years old. You know what I'm saying? So that's all it makes. And I say that because, again, out of love and respect for Will Ospreay, because I genuinely, and I say this, I want to see this guy
around for the next, 15, 20 years.
Right. Exactly. And it's just that, like, again, I just see how again, don't change who you are, but just sometimes just know. And even like so many other, wrestlers, even Randy Orton has said this to people, somebody like Javon Evans over in WWE. Like, if there's like, just slow it down, man. Like, you don't need to jump and bounce from pillar to post every single freaking night. Even Undertaker, so many other legends have said this before to all the full-time talent that are now, in this industry. It's just like, understand, man, to where like, guess what? Yeah, you'll do a really good solid corkscrew dive off the top rope, a suicide dive, a hurricanrana splash, whatever it is, man. But guess what? If it's not, if the story doesn't call for it, then guess what? People within the next couple of months to a year, nobody's going to remember it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, to where like Shane McMahon, right? To where we've seen him do a lot of extraordinary stuff, but you remember, all the coast to coast that he did, him jumping off of Hell in a Cell, right? All of this stuff. Mick Foley, when fighting the Undertaker years and years ago in the in the 90s, to where freaking, getting chucked off the Hell in a Cell by the Undertaker.
Oh my God, he killed him.
Right. And then Jim Ross with the cherry on top of his call. Exactly. Right. It's just like those, it's moments that call for it. Like, it's like, hey, like, I'm doing this because the story calls for it, and it's going to be a moment that people are going to remember forever. Now people just do it every single week, and the envelope is just moved. And well, I just wish Will Ospreay just understands that, and I hope he understands that from at least from how I'm saying it, that it's coming from a good place and not from a bad place. That's all I'm saying. So
no, and I don't want to harp on this too much longer, but like, yeah. You take that Hell in a Cell moment with Mankind, right? That why that moment lives is iconic. It's not simply the fact that he was thrown off the cage, right? Mm-hmm. It's because everything happened. Like the Jim Ross's commentary that wasn't planned, that wasn't scripted. That was him reacting. Holy shit! This guy just got. That's never happened before, right?
Right.
That's why it lives, and it's everything that made that moment, right? Mm-hmm. And you think back to, like you said, an Orton or a Sting, my guy Sting, right? Like I didn't like Sting because he did the Scorpion Deathlock or the Stinger Splash.
Yeah.
It's and people aren't clamoring to Randy Orton because he does the RKO. It's the character. It's your character development. It's and that's man, it is so crazy to me that we've gotten to this place in wrestling, and there's always been, right, it ebbs and flows. I get it. But so much emphasis has been put on these crazy movesets and minimal work put into your character, your mic skills, whatever. Because at the end of the day, right, as much as I love Sting, I don't necessarily remember like, oh my God, that was a great Stinger. That was the best Stinger Splash I ever saw. Like, you're not going to remember that shit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's what exactly. You hit the nail on the head, man. It's where I'm sure we've seen a lot of extraordinary stuff over the past, even like 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years.
And the bar keeps jumping because they're so athletic and right.
Exactly. And again, guys, like I promise you, like over the past, let's say 4 or 5 years, like name almost every single one of those spots. As far as whether that's, again, this is just me picking names. Just
any wrestler, you can throw any wrestler,
any wrestler out there. How many of those moments have you truly remembered because the story fit for what the wrestler performed that spot to do? Right. You know what I'm saying? It's got to call for it, man. And if it doesn't, it's just all right. Yeah, you're putting your body on the line for what? Right. Just for it to be, it's like a firework to where like, oh, it's like it's a nice firework show. Every fireworks show is the same. It's in the moment. It's great. And then when it's over, I'm just like, I'm not going to remember it because every fireworks show is the same fireworks show.
Yeah,
exactly. Anyway, that's really all of AEW that we have to cover. Again, we'll talk a little bit about AEW Dynasty in the near future, since it is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday on April 12th. So we'll talk a little bit about that once we get closer to it. But let's dive into WWE, and this will kind of be like the last topic, and there'll be a bunch of stuff that will kind of tie into all of this. So WrestleMania is now 15 days away. And literally, guys, to say that WWE is in desperation mode is literally an understatement, because you're going to see it tonight, and you've already saw it on Monday Night Raw, to where going into Monday Night Raw this week, they had what, 8 advertised matches for WrestleMania.
Two nights.
And there's 2 nights, right? And what's that saying that WWE likes to say? Oh, WrestleMania is too big for one night. Right? That's what they say. Since they've been a 2-night event, they always say WrestleMania is too big for one night. When the reality is that it never needed another night.
No.
It was perfectly fit for one night. It was only supposed to
Your
be
greed needed
one
it to
night.
be 2 nights.
Exactly. The greed, exactly. The greed has a lot to do with it, because now you guys are seeing it firsthand. And we'll get into Cena, as there was a big announcement from Cena. We'll get into that. It's kind of like the main focal point of this episode. But you were seeing, guys, firsthand to where how matches are randomly being thrown out there, right? Gunther, who hasn't been on television for weeks, right? For weeks. He has not been on television. He beat Dragon Lee. Guys, he has not been on the show, whether that's Raw or SmackDown. He has been legit on a milk carton. And now all of a sudden he comes back because, oh, snap, we got 15 days, 16 days away from WrestleMania. We need something from Gunther because we built this dude up to retire Cena in style. We need something for Gunther. Let's throw him in there with Seth Rollins. Why? Because, well, Braun Breaker's hurt. Bronson Reed's hurt. We got nothing else. We've kept Seth Rollins in a mask and a hood. Why? None of us know. If you've seen all the stuff that Seth Rollins, again, Seth Rollins is another one of those dudes where, again, I like Rollins. I respect the dude for how much he tries to reinvent himself. But guys, let's face it, everything that Seth Rollins has done has not landed. This whole shtick with him in the mask has not landed. And now, because they have nothing else for Rollins, because, yeah, Braun Breaker is injured, and the fact that we have nothing for Gunther, let's just throw out a Gunther and a Seth Rollins match for WrestleMania, because we have nothing for these individuals, and we're just going to bank on the fact that they're going to have a good wrestling match because it's Seth Rollins and because it's Gunther. You have Penta, right? Penta, who I've been saying for weeks now, how they gave a championship on this dude, right? To where, like, at this point, when you're in that company, your booking is worse being a champion than it was before you won the championship. And that's evident with Penta.
Was in AEW.
To where going into Monday Night Raw, guys, he had no WrestleMania match. He had no feud. He had no tension. To where you take the title off of Dominic. And to where I get it. Did Finn and Dom, did it need the championship? No, of course it didn't need it. But it called for it because there wasn't any other build or tension that you had with any of your stars. Right. So you put it on Penta, who has no feud, who has no tension with anybody, and you put the title on him, and now you got to or just freaking bring in a bunch of random people like Rusev, Dragon Lee, who
Rusev. I haven't heard that name in a minute. He's
Rusev,
still there.
who's been on a milk carton for weeks.
Right.
Dragon Lee, who's done nothing but just be in random matches and random segments with Gunther, that lost a match, and all of a sudden he just gets a title opportunity. He's going to be in a ladder match at WrestleMania. Make that make sense. And like, who even else is in this? Javon Evans, who's in this freaking match, and I believe it's JD McDonough, along with Penta, who's your champion. So again, you're throwing out a ladder match with people just ran again. Let's just pluck in JD in there. Let's pluck in Rusev in there. Let's just pluck. It's random, guys.
Yeah.
It's random because they are desperate. And you want to know how desperate they are? They decided to give John Cena a call for him to be the host of WrestleMania because, guys, by the day, by the week, you see how many times WWE has had to lower ticket prices, right? It's evident. And even with those lower ticket sales, even there's still people that are no selling in this event to where it's too little too late because with no demand, with nothing that feels like WrestleMania. There's no electricity, right? There's no just excitement for anything of what anybody is involved in. And you put an expensive price tag, right, next to that WrestleMania event with tickets and merchandise, and people are going to say, nah, man, this is not worth my time, my energy, or just my fandom or anything. It's not worth to where even watching this show and spending however much money on freaking ESPN's, freaking subscription service to pay for $30 a month. Like, it's not worth your time, your money at all. And firsthand with everybody and what they are involved in, you see what they're doing, even with Orton and with Cody Rhodes. Granted, a heel Orton, I said it a couple weeks ago, is the best version of Randy Orton. But I can also admit to where the feud is rushed. It's a rushed feud because they decided to take the title off of Drew McIntyre to put it, and I'll say this too, and I gave praise to it. Drew and Jacob Fatu, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They actually did a really solid job with those two. And I spoke all about it in an episode to where you guys can go check that out. It's on all of our platforms. But they create a thread throughout the show. And I'm like, all right, if you're going to create tension and animosity with Drew McIntyre, that's how you do it. And guys, they followed it up with them doing absolutely nothing whatsoever. Nothing, because you put all of your chips into one basket because you don't know what you're doing. You didn't plan this out for the past several months to a year. And now all of a sudden, because you got 2 nights, right? Because it's too big for one night, you got 2 nights of WrestleMania to freaking book. You only had 7 or 8 matches booked. And now tonight and this past Monday, you had to chuck a bunch of matches on this card and say, all right, here's WrestleMania. Let's give us your money, right? Give us your hundreds and thousands of dollars to pay for a ticket or to watch the show. And people now more than ever are starting to see how noticeable it is for how inept they are, how greedy they are, and just how much they just do not care. Io Sky, what is Io Sky doing right now? Right? And I said this from the jump, and bro, I know you remember me saying this. The whole reason why she was attached to Rhea Ripley was to get Rhea Ripley back to the world title scene. And guess what Rhea Ripley's doing now? Yeah. She won the chamber, and here she is. She's about to face Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. And guess what Io Sky is doing? She's doing nothing. She's in this little shtick with Kyrie and Asuka.
The Kabuki Warriors.
The Kabuki Warriors, right? And you're thinking, oh, well, James, it's Asuka and Io. Like, that would be a good match. That's really good. Yeah, if I haven't seen them in the ring for the past several freaking weeks and months in 6-woman tags, tag team matches. Guys, we've even seen them fought in a one-on-one match over the past several years. What is going to be different that we haven't already seen from these ladies, from Asuka, from Io, that we haven't already seen before, right? You put Io Sky, that people love Io, and you knew that Rhea Ripley, to where people were sick. I understand she has her fans, but there was a one point in time to where people were sick and tired of Rhea Ripley being in that world title scene, and they had her put her in with Io because people like Io to kind of soften the blow. And once the timing's right, we're going to kick Io to the curb. We're going to put her in a relevancy in the middle of the show, and we're going to put Rhea Ripley back into that spotlight. And guess what they're going to do with Alexa and Charlotte? They're going to do the same exact thing. I was going to say
the same thing with Alexa and Charlotte.
Where Alexa is going to be given the short end of the stick, and then eventually Charlotte Flair is going to be back in that world title picture. Guys, I've been saying this for months, and now you bring in John Cena, all right? And I'll kind of wrap this up here. John Cena, the dude that legit, guys, retired like 4 months ago. The dude literally just had his final match 4 months ago. And within the snap of a finger, to where obviously we knew he was going to get a Legends deal, right? To where like he's going to be like that legend that's going to maybe make an appearance. Like, we knew that it was coming, right? But I don't think anybody else, right? Even me and you probably knew that this was happening. But there's probably a lot of people that didn't think, oh, wow, 4 months and here he is. He's already back. And guys, we've been telling you this, how for the next several years, right, however long they can do this for, they're going to liquidate people like Cena, people like Orton, people like Stone Cold while he's still on this earth freaking breathing, The Rock, and so many other I don't want to say quote legends. They are legends in this business, to where they're going to continue to liquidate that because it's everything that Vince McMahon built, because they have nothing else, and they've realized that they didn't book WrestleMania correctly. They realized that people are not interested in the show. What's going to get them interested? Hey, John Cena is going to be the host, because you're so desperate for ticket sales and for people to watch the show. You're that desperate to where you just retired somebody, and within 4 months, you're going to put them on WrestleMania. And guys, what is he going to do? Is he going to be involved? Is Gunther, maybe he's going to have a little exchange with Gunther? Was he going to give him an attitude adjustment, guys, and we're going to all pop, right? And then John Cena's just going to pander to the crowd, right? He's going to pose to the hard cam, and like that's going to be his little tiny little break in the action. Right? Yeah. Come on, man. Honestly, dude, you're seeing firsthand just how as much money you want to give to this company day in and day out, you are continued to be reminded how they don't give a fuck about you, me, or anybody else. And that includes the talent. Majority of that talent that are within those walls that have told us how inept it is within the walls of that company, how the culture is set to where people like LA Knight has spoke out about it, Chelsea Green, Karrion Kross, who was within that company, R-Truth, so many people. But yet, let's just keep giving money to this company. Let's just keep doing it, right? Oh, frickin', I get a chance to meet Liv Morgan. Oh, let me spend another frickin' 10 grand on that.
Right? 15 minutes, 10 grand, 15 minutes. Yeah.
I get to go on Cody Rhodes' tour bus for 15 minutes. Oh, here's another 10 grand. There you go. Right? Freaking, I mean, guys, like, honestly, a tour bus. There's a tour bus, guys, a tour bus experience to be on Cody. Like, what do I honestly need to see on Cody Rhodes' tour bus that I need to spend nearly $10,000 on to take a
like, I promise you, the conversation ain't going to be that fucking great.
Like, I mean, listen, bro, I'm taking the mini fridge. I'm taking the frickin', I'm taking his microwave.
I might take the wheels off that bitch.
I'm taking, if there's replicas of that tour bus, I'm taking one of those home, because I spend nearly 10 grand. So I'm getting my money's worth. Guys, like, stop, man. But, you know, and I promise you, man, I want you to tell me after that 15-minute bus ride, I want you to tell me how worth everything was for a 15-minute bus ride for you to spend nearly $10,000. Stop, man. It's like, how gullible, and just how, like, I don't even know what the word is. Just like, how just freaking brainwashed can you possibly be? I don't know what other word there really is.
You know, brainwash, and, you know, because I meant to say this last. It's the cognitive dissonance, man. That's the brainwashing. It like, good Lord, dude. Like, yeah.
So yeah, again, man, like we say, it's just, you know, it's too big for one night. Yeah, my freaking ass. It was perfect for one night. It was only supposed to be one night. They can't even book 2 nights of WrestleMania, let alone one night. And to say that this buildup has been worse than last year is a freaking understatement. And if you think it's going to get better, we got another thing coming. So, any thoughts, Brian?
Oh shit, yeah, I got a lot of thoughts about that. First, I'm gonna shout out my one of my spirit animals, DMX, man. He once said, you know, when people are going to show you who they are, and believe them, trust in that. Like, a liar's going to lie, a cheat's going to cheat, you know, a thief is going to steal, you know, and they're going to do it to you. Don't think they're not going to do it to you. They will. And I want to shout out my man Martez last night, although we didn't get, you know, Wrestle Talk in the D up in Detroit, because he was talking about this, you know, at WrestleMania season. And man, I come from an era, you know, where you know, WrestleMania was created in you know, when I was a young kid, right? One night, you know, the biggest spectacle, right? Wrestling, whatever, and that's what it was. And yeah, to see that, like, I have, and, you know, I've been on here where, like, I don't watch WWE anymore, right? And even I've mentioned back in the Attitude Era when I wasn't watching it much, but WrestleMania season I was. That's completely gone for me. Like, this is so, like, again, it's everything that is happening. It's the soaring prices combined with the piss poor product that is just like absolutely fucking not. I'm not paying this shit. The storylines are garbage. You're taking belts off your champions 2 weeks prior to Mania because you don't fucking have a plan.
Guys, the women's tag titles, the United States Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the WWE Championship, all of those titles were changed hands within 2 weeks, a month before WrestleMania. There's a reason for that because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're doing
that's across the board. It's not like, oh, we have this one little the tag team champions. We got to do that's your fucking champions across the board.
Right.
They do not know what the fuck they're doing from it seems week to week. And at this point, when I go back to the DMX thing, because at this point, the blame is on the fans to this point because we are still paying the money. I trust Triple H to be what Triple H is, a greedy, ignorant motherfucker. Nick Khan, a greedy motherfucker. I expect them to continue to be greedy, to continue to put out piss poor shit because y'all are still buying it.
Exactly.
And and the ones that are still buying it, like, it's crazy to me because you guys are getting fucked the hardest because you are the ignorant assholes that are $10,000 for a court. Yeah, fucking here you go, WWE. And that keeps the fucking machine rolling, man. Exactly. It's you, the viewers.
It's the people that spend nearly $10,000 on a tour bus experience because I gotta look at every single thing within that tour bus. I gotta meet Cody Rhodes and shake his hand. Like, are you that big of a fan of Cody Rhodes to spend nearly $10,000? What is that must see within that fucking bus that you need to pay $10,000 to pay nearly legit a fortune to go to a show with a show that's not even properly built.
Not even properly booked.
Look what they've done with all of their champions. People wanted to make an excuse about how Carmelo lost his United States Championship because he had a wedding. He just recently got married. Shout out to him, by the way. Him and Kaladi Jordan just got married. Shout out to them. He even stated, like, the title change had nothing to do with the wedding. That shows you right then and there from the horse's mouth, right? Within the walls of that company, they're doing these title changes. They're doing all these irrational decisions because they are desperate. They're trying to get people interested because they know time is running out and desperate times call for desperate measures. And when you're this desperate, it gets more and more noticeable because fans are like, oh, like Gunther and Seth Rollins, that doesn't really make any sense. Oh, freaking such and such is facing such and such. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because we told you that this is what they were going to do. They were going to randomly throw matches on the card that had no rhyme or reason to be on the card, that had no story behind it, no reasoning behind it. We told you guys this for weeks that this is what they were going to do because they've done it last year and they've done it the years previous, guys.
Yep.
And so if it feels random, that means it is random. So
I mean, listen, the Seth Rollins Gunther thing. I mean, what has Seth Rollins been doing for the last 8-9 months, right? The Vision thing. I mean, just what was it a couple weeks ago where fucking Brock Lesnar comes out, Seth is there, and he's fucking eliminating all these people, right? All this Vision stuff, and then suddenly here's Gunther. What?
Exactly.
And I'm telling you now. Because you're right, because this doesn't make sense. Like, why the fuck is he having this match with Gunther now when all there's been the Vision and Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, and man, I'm telling you, because the Vision is that's done, for all intents and purposes.
And the Vision just took titles from the Usos, by the way. right? To where now
Well, yeah, and I would
you're
say they're
also
dumb.
meshing in. You
Right.
also booked LA Knight to get knocked out by I Show Speed. If you don't know who that is, I don't freaking blame you. He's a freaking influencer on social media. That's how we're booking LA Knight, by the way. We're putting
Fuck.
LA Knight with
Fuck.
influencers like I Show Speed. We're going to put Jelly Roll with Orton and Cody
Jelly Roll,
Rhodes. We're
that's
going to put
disgusting
all
to
of
me.
these celebrities because, it's just like that's going to bring in a certain demographic to watch WrestleMania, right? Because people know who Jelly Roll is. There's a certain demographic that knows who I Showed Speed is, right? But guys, like, for them to be the focal point of the show, right? They're not like a little, they're not like a little, spectrum, a microcosm on the show. No, guys, they're the focal point. Guys, you saw more Jelly Roll in the last 2 weeks than you've seen Gunther and LA Knight combined. That's a fact.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't want it to go down this road right now, but I will say, number one, fuck you, Jelly Roll. Fuck the fans of Jelly Roll. Fuck WWE for bringing Jelly Roll in here. Because let me tell y'all something, you white Christian motherfuckers, I'm talking to you because that's his fan base. That's why WWE is bringing him in here. Don't mistake that. Where did Jelly Roll start? Where did he begin? And where is he now? You see, again, just like Triple H, you see where he is, and then an interview, I don't know, I'm just an old country guy singing, fuck you. You know exactly what you're doing, you ignorant fat motherfucker with your fucking tattoos, and you want to, you fucking, I don't know what you were 20 years ago, but whatever it was, that you either sold that shit out or it was fake as fuck. Because now we see who you are and who you're standing with. Fuck you. And yeah, WWE, right. They're going to bring them, promote him on that. Look, Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll. That shit is so fucking disgusting to me. It is so disgusting. But that's the group that these put together, man. Like fucking read between the lines, dude. And man, again, I guess what you entertained because Jelly Roll's dumbass is out there with his stupid fucking songs in a wrestling ring for what? For fucking what?
Yeah.
No.
Speaking of Jelly Roll, bro, I don't know if you caught me saying this, but this was from SmackDown to where like he actually wrestled a match on SmackDown.
Oh, I know. I know.
And so he fought Kit Wilson, and like guys, this is how like nobody thinks about, like, this is just within the booking as far as just how much they just don't give a shit and how they try to insult everybody's intelligence, right? They had Orton and Cody in a brawl segment. It's one of the worst brawl segments I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's one thing, it's like the amount of brawls that we've seen, like it's telling for that to be one of the worst I've ever seen. Like, it was clunky, it was awful. It was straight up awful. But they had Jelly Roll go out there to where, like, like how when somebody gets laid out, whether that's like a manager or maybe a power at B gets laid out, and like they make it like a big deal, like everybody's in shock, like why would they do that? Like, oh my god, he just got like they had security like try to separate both Orton and Cody. They were getting laid out, they were getting punched in the face, and all of a sudden everybody had to stop in their tracks because Jelly Roll took an RKO, and everybody just had to stop what they were doing to attend Jelly Roll. The same dude, guys, that was taking bumps and bruises in a match an hour ago into the same show. Nobody thinks about this shit at all.
This is why I say at this point it's on the fans, man. Because Nick Khan, Triple H, Stephanie, Linda, Vince, all of them, Bruce Pritchard, Michael Hayes, they've all shown you who they are. Yeah. And they're going to continue to be that way until you stop paying it.
Right. And by the way, too, Road Dogg's no longer a part of the creative department. So what's the excuse now? Who else are we going to point the blame? Are we going to point the blame at frickin' Bruce Pritchard? Are we going to point the blame at Michael P.S. Hayes? Are we going to point the blame at Stephanie McMahon? Are we going to point the blame at our neighbor across the street? Like what other excuse are we going to make, bro? Yeah. Other than the dude who should be given all of the blame and all of the attention as far as this company being as inept as it is, as lazy as it is, and that's Triple H. That's Triple H, because he's the dude that is in charge, that is booking all of these talent, that has everything to do with having the final approval of what is being put on television. And from what I've seen, guys, for the past 3 to 4 years, right? Like, if I'm a
Yeah, it's
creative
horse.
writer,
Yep.
if I'm in Triple H's shoes, right, and if I am booking a show, what I've seen over the past couple weeks, like, I'm embarrassed. I'm literally, guys, embarrassed. Like, I watched a Monday Night Raw show. I didn't watch it live. I saw clips and stuff. I watched what I needed to watch. Guys, I legit watched every single segment be the exact same thing. Like, literally, like,
Mm-hmm.
pull apart brawl after security pull apart brawl after security
Yeah.
pull apart brawl, title change just for the sake of a title change because we don't know where everybody's going. Like,
Somebody from outside the wrestling world,
right,
coming
somebody
in to
an I show speed, or if Jelly
right.
Roll comes in to do a segment because you're trying to get a certain demographic onto the show. We're going to make them a focal point of the show because we haven't booked anyone else correctly. If I'm not embarrassed of what's being put pen to paper out there, then there's no getting to any of these people, and that's including If Triple H is not
Well, that's what I'm
embarrassed,
saying. I mean, they're making so much money that I don't think they're embarrassed because their
oh no,
money,
of course not, because of the
yeah,
money that of course they're not. But
yeah.
just the pride, right?
The
There's got to
right.
be like
I
some
would be,
pride of
yeah.
what you're putting for what the product is individual, the actual product and demand itself. Like, if there's
Yeah.
no pride within yourself to not be embarrassed of what you are putting on television, right? With
Yep.
all the metrics that are following suit, because understand this. Yeah, there might be another 10,000, 50,000 people that are now watching the product because it's WrestleMania season. I would
Sure.
hope that the product would go from all-time low record-setting numbers to maybe just a slight little increase because it's WrestleMania season. I would hope so. But guys,
Right.
understand that once WrestleMania is over, because it happens every single
Every
year.
year.
So where people come back to see what's going on with the company. Oh, it's WrestleMania, right? We all know how it's the biggest show of professional wrestling, right, in WWE, right? Let's see like who the new stars are and what the storylines are. And guys, people come back just to see what's going on. And guess what they do within a month or two after that? They freaking leave. And they don't come back until maybe next year's WrestleMania to see if there's anything else different. It's a trend that has continued from Vince McMahon to now Triple H at the helm.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we'll put the blame on Stephanie. We'll put the blame on frickin' Bruce Pritchard. We'll put the blame on this creative writer and that creative writer. We'll just put the blame on everybody else but the dude that needs to be blamed, and that is Triple H. But like you said, Brian, they're making their money anyway.
Yeah.
But again, just watching this man, like, I don't know how, if you're not a creative writer within the walls of that company. I mean, and what we've seen on WWE Unreal, so where like how disjointed everything is, how nobody's really on the same page, how people are talking about who needs to put the title on what person outside of what the storyline is between such and wrestler A and wrestler B. They don't even know where the title's even going.
Yeah.
Like, if forget Triple H, because he doesn't give a fuck. He stopped giving a fuck a long time ago. But with other writers, like, they have to be embarrassed. They have to be embarrassed for what the product is being put out. And if nobody's embarrassed within that company, nothing is going to change. And you said it yourself. It's also on us, the fans. It's on us, the fans, to legit stop paying an absurd amount of money for what? And then other fans like WWE freaking bootlickers and see, people are willing to spend this money. Like, that's not a flex, bro. You're gonna spend your hard-earned.
That's not the flex you think it is. That's
like
a moronic move.
Right, you're spending all of this money thinking like, oh, look at all the, like, are you on the payroll? Like, you're flexing because of all the money that WWE is making. Like, what the fuck are you on about? It makes no sense. Like, oh my goodness.
And I'll close with this, man, because you mentioned it earlier too. Like, WrestleMania, and I get it. Maybe it's just because this is what I'm used to, and things change, and whatever. But WrestleMania is perfect for one night. You get those eight matches of good stories, of epic moments for that one night. That's what it was supposed to be.
Exactly.
And now it is just it's not even. it's our society in general, yes, of where we've evolved to just as a people, but it's just the a massive amount of greed and just like, hey, it's not even how can we make this better? It's how can we make more money?
Exactly. Yeah.
And what are they? Yeah, let's make it 2 nights. And oh, we need all these advertisers and sponsors. And oh, we can throw out this tour bus ride and this. And it's nothing's making it better. It's just making certain people richer.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I said it. I said a couple
But
weeks
yeah,
ago, right?
WrestleMania probably should. It's not going to anytime soon. But yeah, it should go back to one night. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, man, I said this weeks ago, to where like, yeah, just because you can get the bottom dollar, just because
Yeah.
you can make this absurd amount of money, doesn't mean you should.
Right.
Because I
Yep.
get it, man. There's money to be made. There's always money to be made in business, guys. I understand it, but there has to be other ways to not
Yeah.
only make money, but for at least for it to benefit the viewing audience and the people watching, right? So where again, it's the only thing that it's benefiting is the powers that be, and
Yeah.
the wrestling fan,
Maybe a
right?
couple, maybe a few select, wrestlers in there that'll get the huge payday, but not many of them.
Not
Yeah.
many. No, exactly. Unless, again, if you're and even again, a Roman Reigns, right? Roman Reigns, and even so many people, Seth Rollins, how he's called out about WWE Unreal and how uncomfortable he has felt within cameras being backstage and this and that and the other. Roman Reigns calling out the creativity, like, hey, like we're not advancing, we're not evolving as a company. Like we're on Netflix, we're on all these platforms, and like we're not like
He
we're
nailed
not
that.
doing what we should be
I
doing.
hope the powers that be really, like, again, we don't know the conversations that happen in private, but Roman Reigns, who arguably, especially since John Cena, maybe has probably been the biggest star there.
Sure.
That's your biggest star in that company, telling you creative, you bosses, we're not this isn't succeeding here. We're not evolving. This is but I wonder if it's like, I'd have to imagine it's a little bit different because he's a public figure and it's a different industry.
Mm-hmm.
But think about our own. I work at a hospital, right? There's a 100 things wrong that I see on a daily basis, right? That I can say it, I can bring it to people's attention, but at the end of the day, I'm really just wasting my breath and my energy because the powers that be do not give a shit.
No, not at all.
So,
not at all. So yeah, man. Again, like tonight's going to be a prime example to where they still got a second night of WrestleMania to book, right? To put a whole match card together. Trust me, guys, you'll see it tonight. They're going to chuck a bunch of matches on this card for no rhyme or reason because they are desperate to fill up this card and to get WrestleMania 42 locked and set. And you're going to see it tonight. You saw it last Monday. So all this randomness that people are starting to notice from this company, get used to it, because we told you this months and months in advance that this was going to happen because they have done this for years and years and years. But like you said, Brian, as long as the power at B is making a certain amount of money because of the fact that they are liquidating everything, as far as whether that's a John Cena, a Brock Lesnar, influencer like I Show Speed or Jelly Roll, whatever the case is, the money that they're making off of ESPN and Netflix. But guess what, man? All of that money that they're making, to where like they're going to burn bridges with ESPN, they're going to burn bridges with Netflix, because Netflix and ESPN are seeing firsthand to where they have had to call out WWE for the product that they're also putting on their platform. So as time goes on, man, if WWE is not changing what they need to change, guess what? Frickin' ESPN, Netflix, they're all going to find a loophole and they're all going to walk away. And WWE is just going to find the next business partner to do business with and to make another absurd amount of money. And then they're going to do that until, and we keep saying this like a broken record, they're going to do that until they filled up their pockets to where they can cash out and they can sell.
Sell to Saudi.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
yep. Think about this though, real quick, and because again, everything comes to an end, everything changes, right? And my entire life, yours too, James, right? WrestleMania is the World Series, is the Super Bowl of wrestling, right? It doesn't matter what company. WrestleMania is the biggest thing.
Right.
Maybe, and it probably won't happen in my lifetime because of how big it is, but maybe one day, WrestleMania ain't going to be that. And maybe 20 years from now, we're talking about
probably
All In the way we talk about WrestleMania,
Sure.
So,
it's on its way. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, for in 20 years, I don't even know. Like professional wrestling, I don't know what professional wrestling is going to look like in the next 20 years.
Right.
I really don't. And not just WWE, but just all of wrestling. I really don't know.
Yeah.
For just how much it's changed, and honestly, really not for the better. To where, like, again, as far as like treating the business sacred and how characters are developed and how this is developed and everything, like, I don't even want to know how professional wrestling is going to be in the next 20 years. I really, really don't. But so that's it, man. We're going to end this episode there. We appreciate you guys once again. This was another episode of the Ruthless Talk podcast. Stay tuned as I will be doing a collaboration with Hubbard Wrestling Weekly on April 16th. So if you guys want to check that out, that is going to be on his YouTube channel. I'll be making posts on social media. I'll even put a description down below for you guys to go check out Hubbard Wrestling Weekly and their podcast. They do a really good stuff over there of doing a collaboration as far as WrestleMania is concerned. So stay tuned for that. As a bunch of content coming your way involving AEW Dynasty, involving WrestleMania. I will be reviewing both night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. So definitely stay tuned for that as far as content coming your way as far as this channel. We do appreciate you guys. We're officially, I don't think I've made this announcement yet, but maybe I have, but I'll still announce it anyway because I think it's still pretty freaking cool. Over 700 subscribers on our YouTube channel, man. I just want to once again emphasize that and thank all of you guys for hitting that subscribe button, smashing that subscribe button. Continue to spread the word. We're also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Again, we also have our sports content for our Sports Corner stuff on Instagram and TikTok. You guys see the banner down below. For our wrestling content, it is Ruthless_Talk. For our sports content, that is going to be Ruthless_Sports Corner. All right. So that's also going to be in the description box down below as well for you guys to go check out, to follow, comment, like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. But we got WrestleMania coming up in 15 days, whether how shitty it is, inept it is, we're going to talk about it, probably rant and rave about it. But we will be having some content as far as WrestleMania is concerned, as far as AEW and much more professional wrestling to talk about and to cover. So, Brian, any final thoughts before we end things?
Yeah, once again, as always, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And I do want to give a shout out to Martez, Open Talk 313, Wrestle Talk in the D. Man, it's been an issue now twice, and it's probably on my end. I apologize, to our viewers and to his viewers that it just hasn't. I don't know what the issue is, but we will get this squared away. He's a good dude. Go check out his content over there. And yeah, we'll get something together either on our platform or on his, but definitely go check out Martez and Wrestle Talk in the D and Open Talk 313.
Yes. Yeah, definitely check him out as well. Again, he's available on Instagram and many other platforms, so definitely go check him out as far as that is concerned. But yeah, guys, definitely continue to check us out every single Friday. Again, I will keep everybody posted of when the next episode is going to be. If there's not an episode, then I will definitely let all of you guys know as far as our content, as far as our weekly episodes. But again, there will be reviews on WrestleMania. Again, when the time comes, we'll be able to talk a little bit about AEW Dynasty. And as far as, of course, down the road, thinking way down the road, we got AEW All In. We'll definitely maybe do it all an actual review show for that, for AEW's big show. We'll definitely try to get that in as well. But once again, man, we appreciate you guys. Happy Easter to everybody. Who knows, by the time you guys watch this, happy Easter, happy holidays to all of you guys that are watching. So, and that is it, man. We appreciate all of you guys, man. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. And as always, stay tuned for more content, baby. That is going to do it for today's episode. My name is James Porcelli.
I'm Brian Thomas.
Until next time, there will be a next time. Your boys are signing off saying salute.
Peace out.
and take care, everybody. Top guys, we are